We are in Siaya County at the residence of the governor of this great county of Siaya, the Honorable James Agri Orengo, one of the seasoned politicians in this country. He has been there. He has done a lot for this country. He has seen all these liberations that have been fought in this country, the first, second, and now we are talking about the third liberation. And we just want to talk about a few things here and there about local politics and even national politics. Your Excellency, welcome to the show on Azimio TV.
Thank you, Philip.
Well, before we start this interview, I would wish that you subscribe to this channel because it's the leading online TV in the country, and we are proud that you keep watching, you keep supporting us. Keep it here and also subscribe and make sure you keep watching and spread the word about Azimio TV. Your Excellency, let's talk about Siaya County. You've been in office about 2 years now. What do you think you can say you're proud of as a governor of this great county of Siaya that you have achieved for the last 2 years?
Well, we had a manifesto that we launched during the campaign, and there were several pillars in that campaign in terms of our objectives and strategies. And one of them was agriculture. We believed that in order to transform lives, to impact positively the lives of the people in Siaya, who have largely depended on subsistence agriculture, that would make agriculture the pillar for development and transformation. And we promised, and I think we did in our first year, provide to the farmers fertilizers, certified seeds and fertilizers, and acquired tractors to try and mechanize the agricultural production. And I think that has gone pretty well. But my proudest moment was this week when the president launched the cereal rice mill. Part of Siaya lies within the Yala Delta. It is a place with a lot of potential in agricultural production. We grow rice around the Lower Nzoia area, and it was not being done for value addition. It was just for subsistence, and a lot of people were coming from Uganda to buy rice produced in Siaya and partly in Busia. That mill is now operational, and this year we'll embark on building a cotton mill, a ginnery, in Rarieda. And then we have the industrial parks which are coming up also. So overall, in the agricultural sector, we think agriculture is key for transformation in this part of the country. Secondly, we said health was critical, and I can say in health, we are developing our referral hospital in Siaya. We are going to have, again, launch in the next 2 months, a new surgical unit with a modern ICU, with about 4 operating theaters. I think in the health sector also we have had some significant improvements, both in terms of infrastructure. There are several hospitals and dispensaries that we are upgrading, and also in terms of health commodities, including medicines, they are now better available than what we found at the beginning. It could be improved, but I think we're in a better place. In water is critical, particularly in the areas around the lake. We are going to have a major water project, construction, design and construction is going to commence in a few months. That is in Central Sakwa and South Sakwa. We had another project which we are doing with the national government, the Ugunja, Sega, Okwala water project, which is complete. What remains is connectivity, last mile connectivity, and the national government together with us, we are providing funds to ensure that in the areas of Ugunja and Ugenya constituencies and part of Alego, they're going to benefit from this major project. Education, I think we are doing very well in terms of ECDs. We have fully engaged on permanent and pensionable terms our ECD teachers, and I think that is a success story for us.
It says back to the agricultural sector. Being a rural county, mostly people here rely on agricultural produce for their survival. What is the reception of the local farmers with regard to the measures the government is putting in place, the county government is putting in place to ensure that production of cash crops and even crops that can be consumed domestically here is concerned?
Well, I think the reception is good. I think we have basically been growing maize, sorghum and cassavas. We are trying to diversify. In the area of edible crops, you may find that there are a lot more people in Siaya growing, sunflower. I also, this season, planted quite a lot of sunflower. In the area of, vegetables, we have a farmer here in Okwala, in West Ugenya, who is producing for the European market on a daily basis. Is exporting, vegetables, including
This traditional vegetable?
No, a mixture of all manner of vegetables, including pili-pili and such kind of things. So it speaks to, when people hear about exportation of vegetables and flowers and say it all, that never happened in this area. So I am encouraged by the farmers. Cotton, we could do better. We supplied cotton seeds again with the support of the national government, particularly in the Rarieda area. I think it's got great potential, and that's why we are trying to do a ginnery in Rarieda, a modern ginnery in Rarieda. So I'm happy with the farmers, but we are coming from a position where nearly all the farmers in this area were engaged in purely subsistence farming. And when you went to every market in this area, the vegetables and other produce was either coming from Uganda or some parts of Western Kenya. And sometimes you get, supplies in, from places as far as Molo. The picture is changing, and it's changing for the better. We want to make Siaya not only food sufficient, but to ensure we would grow enough to share with the rest of the Kenyan people.
Do you foresee a day when Siaya County would be exporting farm produce, let's say vegetables and other produce from farms, to other parts of the country and even outside the country? Because when you go to Gikomba, one of the biggest markets in the country, in Nairobi, you find that the mamambogas there always say that the vegetable they sell to the people is from Butere. Do you wish that one day, now mamambogas will be saying the vegetable we always receive here to sell to the people is from Siaya, somewhere Alego, Songa, or say Rarieda? Yes.
The fact that already somebody is exporting to Europe speak to the potential. But I agree with you that in the fullness of time, we in the local markets and in the markets in the region, in Kisumu, in Kakamega, and eventually in Nairobi, we should reach a position where we can be able to market our vegetables in every part of the country. But the one product that I am sure goes to Nairobi and other urban centers, and even as far as Mombasa, for those who want to eat lake fish. Our fish reaches many parts of the country. And we're doing landing sites along our beaches. We got a modern, fish processing outfit in Luanda Kotieno with facilities for refrigeration. In fact, the cold storage there can keep fish fresh even for 5 years. So that, with other landing sites we're doing in Wichloom and Usenge and other beaches, I think our fish is going to be able to be processed in Siaya and to be able to reach the markets, fished and processed in Siaya. But while doing that, we must be aware that we must not, fish to levels where there will be no more fish in the lake. We are engaged in a program and a project of stocking fish in the lake. There's a lot of cages in the lake now, but we must be very careful that there's no overfishing, and we must
Your
keep the
Excellency,
stocks of the fish.
fish farmers, fishermen, back in the day were complaining about 2 or 3 years ago that the introduction of these cages is trying to deny them the opportunity to fish and make a living out of what they've been doing before. So do you think it's a viable idea to have the cages in the lake to try and contain fishermen from overfishing?
No, I think so long as there's a regulation which exists now, there's no so much hostility between those who are, farming fish in the cages in the lake and ordinary fishermen and other fishermen who go into the lake with boats and nets and fish there. Both of them, we must watch their activities because we don't want overfishing, we don't want hostility. But the unique thing about cages is that you can put fingerlings, you can put fish foods into the cages and stock the cages. So it can actually assist in also, stocking the lake. And it's not just Lake Victoria, we've got quite a number of lakes here to make sure that, we keep our fish in the lake, so that there is no overfishing.
Earlier on you spoke about introduction of sunflower farming. If this picks up, do you intend to set up a factory to process this sunflower into edible oil in the near future for the county?
We'll certainly do when we get enough harvest. There's a small plant, is like a cottage industry in Siaya municipality, where you can, process the sunflower. But I think if we expand, that activity in sunflower farming, increase the acreage, we'll need a better facility. But, a lot of people would want to invest, bring a mill here, an oil mill here. They have got to be sure that we are producing enough And I'm saying that, in another 2 years, we'll be talking about the need for a mill, to process our sunflower. Now we have a rice mill because production is good and can be increased. We are going to have a ginnery for cotton because production is good. And I think if similarly with sunflower, if we extend the acreage of necessity, we'll have to have a mill to process the sunflower.
Do we still have the Dominion farms around here?
The Dominion farm, the investor, left, but we have another investor who acquired the land and got a lease in Yala Swamp. There's a controversy now going on, even when the president was here, because we told him that that lease should be reviewed because the investor was given a large piece of land. We don't think that he should be given all that piece of land, and then for 66 years. We think to lease an agricultural farm for about 20 to 30 years, that is good enough. But 60 years is tying down that asset for a long time. But hopefully, when that issue is resolved, the investor must then develop the kind of agro-processing plant that we had envisaged he was going to do within a matter of 2 years.
Are you going to provide a conducive environment for the investor to operate?
Yes. We need investors in Siaya, not just in the Yala Swamp. We need investors in Siaya. And our duty is to provide that conducive environment. There's an investor who is currently engaged near the municipality of constructing a sugar factory. We grow quite a bit of sugar in sugarcane in this area, but there's no factory as we speak. All of it goes to factories in Busia or in Kakamega.
And finally, on this issue of the county development, are you satisfied with the infrastructure development in the county? Road network?
No, we are not satisfied. Of course, as you know, there are roads that are under the mandate of the national government, Kenya National Highways Authority, Kera and Kura. There are roads that we have allotted the national government that should be built as a matter of necessity and urgency. The road linking Luanda and Siaya from Kisumu, and this major highway, which is trans-county and transnational from Kisumu, Luanda to Yala, Ugunja, up to Busia. And the other major roads which fall within the mandate of the national government, and we are talking to them. We could be in a better place if some of those roads were done. At the county level, we have problems about resources, having enough resources to open new roads and maintain the roads that exist. We are putting emphasis in modernizing our road networks within certain municipalities and markets. In this financial year, we hope to tarmac roads within Usenge town, Akala, Ndori, Yala, and Sega. We believe the future is urban. If you have got good roads within urban centers, towns and markets, that will attract more investment and encourage investors to come on board.
That's fairly good, Your Excellency. Viewer, we are going to take a very short break, and I'll keep asking you to subscribe to Azimio TV for videos, information, and entertainment. When you come back, we're going to talk about politics. This is a seasoned politician. They call him Gwiji la Siasa in Kiswahili. Shortly. Welcome back. Your Excellency, talk to us about this broad-based government. What do you make of it? Because, there's been hue and cry from especially partners in the Azimio coalition that the opposition is being killed by the government of the Republic of Kenya, which is led by His Excellency President William Ruto. What do you make of this broad-based government? Do you think it came in at the right time for the country?
Yeah, I think, there were several problems that, brought about this broad-based government. The government, the Kenya Kwanza government was dysfunctional. It was imploding because of activities within that political formation. And in the country, there was a lot of dissatisfaction with, the cost of living. And this, as you see, it is not just this year, from last year, there were demonstrations. People died, some were injured, properties were destroyed. And there was an opportunity to try and bring the country together through the NADCO process. Unfortunately, before we could see the light at the end of the tunnel, there was again an upswing of protests, popularly under the auspices of the Gen Zs. And, the country was becoming ungovernable. So I think it was important to try and find a mechanism for bringing peace and unity back so that the country can now deal with the root causes of the problems that led to last year's demonstrations and the Gen Z demonstrations this year. Now, the broad-based government is not necessarily a coalition government. In fact, it's not a coalition government. One cannot say that ODM as a party has become part of a ruling coalition. What has happened is certain persons within the party who had been approached to assist the current government in trying to not only manage its affairs, but to create, as you say, a broad-based government. The party agreed and said, you can become part of the government. The party will give support without necessarily surrendering its role as the minority party in parliament or as the opposition. At the same time, the party ODM will not retire from its constitutional duties of oversight. The question of legislation and representation goes across all the parties, the duty of all the parties and members of parliament to undertake those functions. But when it comes to oversight and by a constitutional construct, the leadership of the organs within parliament, the committees, the oversight committees, it was by necessity and by design that those committees had the leadership and chairmen or chairpersons coming from the party in opposition. So ODM is still the minority party. The elements of ODM have been invited to be part of the government. We think there's a national agenda as contained in the NADCO report and other issues that have emerged that will require resolution in a structured manner. I, for one, am waiting for that time to come when not just the political parties, but all the stakeholders could be able to sit down and deal with the root causes of some of the problems that led to the demonstrations that we saw last year and this year. By the way, it is not unheard of, people going into government formed by adversaries. In the United States of America, during the Clinton administration, and even during the Bush administration, you had elements from key figures from the Democratic Party serving in the Republican government. Yeah, and nobody said that the Democratic Party has joined the Republican Party, or that the Republican Party has joined the Democratic Party. And even members of the party affected, be it Democrats or Republicans, were assumed or presumed to have become part of government.
Wow, that's interesting, because I think that's a point a lot of Kenyans are missing, because argument out there is that ODM has betrayed Kenyans. There are people who keep saying that the Honorable Raila Odinga, who is the party leader of the ODM party, has let down Kenyans a big deal. So I think your explanation puts that to rest. But again, isn't this arrangement going to jeopardize the work of the minority party in parliament? For instance, someone is asking, how can, in the spirit of comradeship, how can a member of the ODM party question what his former deputy party leader is doing in the ministry that they have been given?
No, those people are completely ignorant of the constitutional construct. Parliament is independent and distinct and separate from the executive. For example, the role of Parliament of oversight. Under the Constitution, they have a duty to oversight the government as a parliament. As a parliament. We are not in a parliamentary system where members of the executive serve in parliament, where you can say the government is in parliament, or the Westminster model, the government is actually, the executive is in parliament. Now we are going to add completely different construct where the executive is not in parliament. And a lot of the leadership, most of the leadership in parliament of the committees are, are from the party in government, because they have a majority in parliament. There are situations that are going to arise where, like we had during the Grand Coalition government, where, before we became part of that Grand Coalition, ODM had more members in parliament than the party of government. So these situations are dynamic and can arise. So it is parliament to fulfill its constitutional obligations to provide legislation, representation, and oversight. And it is not representation of the government. Members of parliament represents the people and the counties, so to speak. So I think once we know how that system should operate, and this is not just akin to Kenya, even the United States of America, the Congress is distinct from the executive, and nobody questions, the role of that constitutional duty that the Congress has although every political party would want to operate with the majority in parliament or in Congress, so that there's not disharmony and dysfunction. But again, there are dangers when a party in power is overrepresented in parliament.
Now, back to this broad-based government and the inclusion of 5 of members from the ODM party into it. Someone posted on their social media platform that why just ODM? Why didn't other political parties within the coalition of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition be approached to be part of this broad-based government?
I think probably that would now be for the president or people in Kenya Kwanza to answer that question, because as I know it, they were approaching individuals to serve. And as we speak now, I know those positions are not being completely filled. I think there's still a position remaining in cabinet, one ministry. So probably, it may be in the mind of the executive to approach another sector. But it should not be lost that when the Kenya Kwanza government was trying to form this broad-based government, they were probably looking for regions where there was no effective representation and inclusivity in the national government, that is the executive. For example, in the entire Nyanza region, and excluding Kisii and Nyamira, there was only one member of the cabinet, for the entire region. In the coast, of course, there was, if I can remember very well, there was Minister Mvuria. Now, with an addition of Honorable Joho.
There was also, I think, Aisha Jumwa.
Aisha Jumwa. Yeah, it was just a replacement.
Yeah.
And maybe the question of gender was arising, but when they appointed our young girl from Turkana, that issue of gender seemed to have been addressed, although in entirety of that formation, I am not sure that the gender rule has been fully, accomplished. Yeah, but all in all, I can say that that was an attempt to form a broad-based government by a party in power. It was not by a group of parties, or more than one party sitting down to say this is how we are going to form this broad-based government. I think it was from the perspective of the current government on how to form that broad-based government.
Let's talk about the Gen Z uprising, the demonstrations they staged in the month of June was vigorous and it shook the country. Do you think some of the issues that they were raising have been addressed by the government of Kenya?
I don't think they have been addressed at all, but I think there has been some statements to the effect that they are going to be addressed. Now, if you just talk broadly about some of the issues they were raising, the cost of living was an issue. I don't think it's been sufficiently addressed. Although the finance bill, which was going to compound the situation, make life harder through more and more taxation, in itself, the withdrawal of that bill did not answer to the questions that were raised around the cost of living. You remember even last year when Azimio and ODM were raising these issues about cost of living. The Kenya Kwanza administration said, no, this is not something to be addressed by the team from the two coalitions, that it is the government that is going to rise or fall, whichever way they were going to address that issue of the cost of living.
If you're in the shoes of President William Ruto today, you are the president of Kenya, how best would you handle this Gen Z issue? How would you approach it?
The Gen Z issue is first is issue of exclusion. You know, if the young people, because this was the young generation, talking about the problems that were unique that they were experiencing, and a starting point, which would have been a quick win, was to address this issue of inclusivity, so the young people can be sure by looking at the face of the government that they were being involved, they were participating in the affairs of the nation, and that could have been a quick win. And in order to put the country on the right path and create an enabling environment to address some of the Gen Z's issues, the issues of abductions, which seem to be continuing, the arrests, and also the question of prosecutions. Those largely have not been addressed, and compensation for those who were injured and for families who lost loved ones, that has not been addressed. The properties that were destroyed, those have not been addressed. So we need to create this enabling environment to be able now to talk substantively with the Gen Zs and other stakeholders on a national platform on how to deal with the problems that were raised.
Do you think that environment can be created now?
I think it can be created, and I think the space is there. It's been created. It is upon the government now to seize it. Yeah, and I urge them that they should not take this formation of so-called broad-based government as the solution by itself, because it's for them to seize this moment. I remember when we were at the Serena talks during the crisis in 2007, 2008, there were issues that were addressed in order to create the enabling environment, and I can say without any fear of contradiction that those quick wins and those issues that needed quick resolution have largely not been addressed.
Finally, about the ODM party. A lot is being said around. So many things have been said about the party, that now we are in government, ODM is in government, which you've clarified here. There's nothing like that. There's no such arrangement between Kenya Kwanza and ODM party. Now, the future of the ODM party.
The future of ODM party is critical. I think if the ODM party is emasculated or becomes weak or dies, that will be a blow to democracy. Because Kenya, we must never forget the construct of the constitution is that we are a multi-party democracy. Parties are pillars of democracy, at least the Kenyan design and architecture of democracy, the way it should be implemented, is that parties play a very critical role. And that's where even the vision of funding political parties arose, because they're key agencies in the management of the public affairs. Now, if ODM as a party, because, you know, the other parties do not have the national image, or they don't have a broad national representation as ODM. And ODM has remained intact. UDA basically is imploding, as I've said. So I would urge the members of the party to be steady, be true to the cause, subscribe to the vision of the party, and fight for it to ensure that the Kenya that the ODM as a party wants to create is still our major objective. But I am particularly concerned that in a situation where you have parties that come and go because of arrangements that come and are seized opportunistically without thinking about the foundations of democracy, can be a great problem for us in the future, because to recreate an environment when you have strong political parties is not easy. Now, if you go to the West, you know, like the Democrats, the Republicans, they have a long history. They've been there for a long time. In Europe, you know, similarly, parties, you know, have outlived centuries. In the continent, I think the ANC, although it is undergoing turbulence, but the fact that from 1912, it has remained as the major political party in South Africa is something to be commended, and that some other parties are also emerging or are in existence in South Africa that are strong, I think is something to be appreciated, and there's something to be nurtured. So I hope ODM continues to recruit membership, continue to expand, and continues to maintain its brand. And it is a progressive movement. ODM is not just a political party, it is a progressive movement that is committed to fighting for the ordinary people in Kenya. And it's important that we know that many of the parties which have been in prominent positions in our Kenyan politics, like KANU, like PNU, like NAC, they have come and gone. Now, to recreate those parties, even when you had very strong leaders behind them, you know, PNU with Kibaki, NAC with Kibaki, KANU with Moi, DP with Kibaki, you know, Jubilee with Uhuru, that the current president and the immediate former president were from the Jubilee formation. And those parties are dying. Yeah, so ODM must not die. It must not be weakened and must not weaken. It must fight to not only occupy the space it has, but to expand its space in the country.
Finally, if you're put in another world and told to choose a political party that you'd want to belong to, which is this party?
If another world?
Yes.
Yes, I'll still choose ODM. Choose ODM. I think, you know, this party hopping, which all of us are guilty of, has been part of the problem in our nation. But I think I'm very proud to be a member of ODM, and I'm proud to be a disciplined member of the ODM. And I will not change this membership for another party unless ODM, for all intents and purposes, ceases to exist.
Thank you. In another world, you'll still choose ODM.
ODM.
Thank you for your time, Your Excellency. We have been hosting the Governor of Siaya County, His Excellency, the Honorable James ORENGO. We have been glad to host you, and we hope that next time you'll also grant us time to talk to you on numerous issues, both local and international, and even nationally. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you. Anytime.
Keep it here, Azimio TV. Keep subscribing. Until next time, goodbye.